The first point is that from the last 3 days of my campaign here, I'll be here for another 4 days. So during this period, one thing is very obvious, that the BJP, despite the Prime Minister's coming here very often, is not likely to open its account in the Parliament, which is good, which is what the country also needs, and we are sure that that will happen. That's the first point. The second is that it's very unfortunate, I think, after coming here, the sort of a campaign that is being conducted against the LDF and particularly the CPI. I was at Vadagara yesterday and I saw the sort of that very obscene, virulent social media campaign that was conducted against Comrade Shailaja. And my only comment was, when the video was asking me, my comment was, this is the confirmation that Shailaja has won the election. I mean, that is why out of sheer desperation they are resorting to this sort of campaigns. Now, but that the level of campaigning which we think should be, a decorum should be maintained by all means. By all means, attack us politically, attack us on policies, etc. But don't demean the election campaign into this personal and this sort of personal attacks and this sort of a degeneration. That is why I find it very strange when when the UDF and the Congress says that the LDF and CPIM has been silent on attacking Modi. Now we'd like to, I only want to point out facts. I mean no other comments on anybody else, no individual, no comments on their comments. But what are the facts? When the CAA was implemented in the Parliament, not only did we oppose it, but we raised a public campaign against it, saying that this is anti-constitutional because it links citizenship with religion, which the Constitution does not permit. And this national campaign that was conducted by us, and in that entire national campaign, where was the position of the Congress party and who was against the Modi government, and which was the first national party that was arrested in the capital Delhi, and I was the first one of the national leaders to be arrested in protest against the CAA, when Article 370 was abrogated. Which was the national party that went to the Supreme Court challenging its constitutional validity? It was the CPIM. As a result of that challenge in the Supreme Court and the moving of a habeas corpus saying that political leaders are non-traceable, the state says they are not arrested, but the leaders are all under detention somewhere or the other. So habeas corpus, when it was moved, I was permitted by the Supreme Court to enter, the first person outside of Srinagar, to enter into Srinagar and meet all the political leaders, including my party leader, and that was done. Who breached the Article 370 restrictions? It was the CPI. On the Bilkis Bano case, among the petitioners, which was the political party that petitioned saying that those gang rapists and murderers who did that communal campaign, who were exonerated, pardoned by the court, that pardon should be reversed and they should be sent back to jail. And we succeeded in that petition. In the Supreme Court, those gang rapists are now back in jail. Who did that? The CPIM. Who is the one that moved the Supreme Court against the electoral bond saying they are unconstitutional? And the Supreme Court permitted the CPIM to saying that it has the locus standi, that the CPIM has the locus standi, while other political parties do not. We have the locus standi because we are the only political party that opposed the electoral bond both in Parliament. I had moved amendments to the thing which were carried in the Rajya Sabha, but they were overturned by the Lok Sabha then, in those days. And then we refused to accept any of these electoral bonds. That is why Supreme Court permitted us, and finally we won our contention. The electoral bonds are unconstitutional. So who has been opposing Modi all through? In all these instances, those who charged us saying that we are not opposing Modi, where were they? So my only appeal to everybody concerned is that definitely criticize, campaign against, attack our political positions, our policies, but don't move to such extent as actually telling untruths and conducting personal attacks. Let us maintain the decorum of the campaign. And that is why the Congress has to actually introspect. How many of their leaders have left the Congress party and gone into the BJP? This is the recount. But then they attack us saying that we are not anti-Modi. So please therefore let us talk on the basis of facts and substance and not on the basis of personal attacks. The third aspect I would like to make is that the Prime Minister today is making all sorts of statements all across the country which are violative of the Model Code of Conduct. I have given a petition to the Election Commission listing out various statements made by the Prime Minister, including information and evidence of the speeches that the Prime Minister made, aiming at sharpening communal polarization on the issue of Ram, leading up to Ram Navami, which was yesterday, on the question of Ram and the Ram temple in Ayodhya. The Election Commission has received it. It has not acted on it so far. Now this is raising serious doubts as to what is the neutrality and the impartiality of the Election Commission, which is essential and crucial for Indian democracy, because Election Commission alone has the constitutional mandate to conduct a free and fair election. Only Election Commission can do that. If they do not act on such brazen violations of the Model Code of Conduct, then this election is far from being a free and fair one, with a level playing field for everybody. Even yesterday, the Prime Minister made an atrocious statement saying that they have cleared and they have developed the northeast of India, which was in a mess before the Modi government came into office. For how long has Manipur been burning? The double engine government of BJP, both at the center and in Manipur. Has the Prime Minister even said a word about it? He's actually cleared up the mess in the northeast, is what he claims today. And in every one of the northeastern states, there are new problems that are developed. And in Assam, the entire state-sponsored communal polarization that is taking place is actually destroying the unity of integrity of that region. So with these sort of campaigns that are going into at this level, clearly the idea of the BJP, and unfortunately some of the opposition parties are also falling prey to it, is to deflect attention away from people's actual problems. The highest unemployment levels in the country today, the highest levels of educated unemployed, 42% of our graduates are unemployed, 42%. Your Manrega is being starved of funds. And your households, their savings have dropped to a historic low, less than 5% of your GDP. And the household indebtedness, that is borrowing, has reached a historic high of more than 45% of your GDP. So Indian households are borrowing in order to survive. What is the living conditions of the people? The government, the Prime Minister, the other ministers that are touring around the country. Not one word on any one of these things. Not one word on what, in fact, unemployment and inflation doesn't figure in their manifesto. And as we go into the elections, you get international ratings, of course, which the Modi government has never accepted because they're not in their interest to accept. The VDEM has now called us from being an electoral autocracy 2 years ago. They were defined yesterday. India is the most authority of an autocratization. The countries which are seeing the greatest autocratization of its democracy. The Economist Intelligence Unit, which called us not a normal democracy 2 years ago in 2021, has reduced our ranking by 2 points this year. So now all these issues, the government of the day, the Prime Minister do not speak. It's only on issues that arouse communal passions, and they want to polarize and divide the society. And by doing that, they're doing the greatest disservice to India. And this is based on total fiction. It is Modi guarantee that he will take India to be the third largest GDP in the world, third largest economy. Now, when we've been pointing out earlier also, it doesn't require Mr. Modi. You can be the Prime Minister of India, and even then in 2027, India will be the third largest economy. Why? Statistically, the rate at which our GDP is growing because of our numbers. 140 crore people means everybody contributes something or the other to the GDP. Employed, unemployed, whatever it may be. There's some contribution. The rate at which our GDP is growing is faster than the rate at which Japan and France are growing. So by 2027, we'll overtake them. That's a statistical fact. It doesn't require Mr. Modi or the BJP government to achieve that. That will happen irrespective of who is in the government. But the other reality is what? In terms of per capita GDP, you are number 142 out of 180 countries in the world. You are the lowest per capita GDP amongst all the G20 countries. You have the lowest per capita GDP amongst all the BRICS countries. And that is the actual reality. Even after you become the third largest economy, the US economy, the number one economy in the world, will be 6 times larger. 6 times. And China, which is the number 2 in global economy, will be 5 times larger than our number 3 position. So all these statistical gimmicks are being used to justify as though there's an economic prosperity. The reality is greater misery for the people. That is why this government has to go. If we have to protect the secular democratic character of the Indian Republic and improve people's welfare.